Live from our studio here in Lagos, Nigeria, this is TVC News at 1. We'll begin with news from the United States where non-American citizens, including Nigerians who are hoping to give birth in the U.S., may begin to rethink. And that's because President Donald Trump has announced the end to birthright citizenship for children of illegal migrants. This is coming on a day the president signed a flurry of executive actions, including starting the process of withdrawing the U.S. from the World Health Organization and declaring a national emergency at the southern border. He issued nearly 1,600 pardons in connection with the Capitol riot of 6 January 2021. Many prisoners are expected to be released within hours. In his inaugural address, the president said, quote, "The golden age of America begins right now," adding that he will be a peacemaker and a unifier. Well, let's talk some more about this. To make sense of all of this, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies, David Aurawa, joins me on the news at 1 now. Prof, it's good to have you join us. President Trump has swung into action immediately, and one of the things he's spoken about is ending birthright citizenship for migrants. Talk to us about that and how that is expected to influence his administration.
Thank you for having me. Yes, it will impact on his administration because we have had a fairly large number of Americans who think that those who come into the U.S. illegally, their children should not have automatic citizenship. So what Trump has done would satisfy people like that. But I would summarize that for the large number of Americans, they will wish that, such ones, have automatic citizenship. Because, the parents came in, they were not the ones that found their way to the U.S. So they will wish that, that policy were not, adopted and implemented as it is going to be under the Trump presidency. But a large number of Americans voted for Trump because of this and because of his very tough border policy. Many Americans don't want many immigrants in the U.S. And so if you satisfy the large number of Americans, but I would imagine that the majority will not quite like the policy which punishes the children, so to speak, for the parents migrating to the United States.
Now let's talk about, some other policies he's putting in place and how this could actually impact the U.S.'s relationship with the world. Of course, he's looking at pulling out of the climate deal. And beyond that, he's looking to move away from the World Health Organization. Remember the event in 2020 during COVID-19 when the U.S. actually cut down on its support for the world body. How do you see world leaders react to this, and how could it impact the globe, as it were?
These are bad measures. They are bad policies. Even if the WHO made some mistakes in its response to the COVID-19 pandemic, it is clear that the activity of the WHO helped tremendously to bring that pandemic to an end as quickly as it did. And so that should not be a justification for trying to pull the United States out of the WHO. We said this several times that Trump is opposed to multilateralism and that it will take measures that will impact the global order negatively. And these are the things that Trump is already doing now. They will create a world that is less stable. They will create a world that is less developed. For instance, the pulling out of the climate change. 2024 was the hottest year in history. That was the first time that the year got up to 1.6 degrees Celsius. The world is literally burning. And so a leader that wants to pull away from measures to tackle such a global crisis, I'm not sure can be said to be a good leader. Even before Trump took office, he threatened and threatened and threatened Canada, threatened Greenland, and all that. Well, I respect America's decision to elect him, but I'm not sure these measures will even benefit the US itself. And of course, certainly, they will be detrimental to the global order. So many leaders across the world will be opposed to it. They may not have much to do to stop him, but they'll be opposed to it. And I'm sure many are very sad now by what Trump's measures, the impact Trump measures will have on the international system.
And perhaps, one of the defining moments for the Biden administration, which is past now, is the conflict, the war in Gaza. And as it stands now, President Trump has, spoken about the fact that he's looking at America being stronger, being greater, being able to prevent wars, and for he himself actually appearing as a unifier. How do you see his stance in these issues actually influence and determine what goes on in these countries?
Well, for his position on the Gaza crisis, that's the Hamas war, I commend him. Because the Israelis, the leadership, Netanyahu and his people, what they thought was that Trump was going to give them a blank check and support their position to obliterate Hamas, which will mean a war that will go on and on and on. But Trump has taken a different position as far as that is concerned. He sent his Middle East envoy, Steve, to the Middle East to speak with Netanyahu and make it very clear that he was desirous of getting that war to come to an end. And he unusually worked very closely with Biden's advisors and of course negotiators in the Middle East. And it was those measures that led to the signing of the deal that was began to be implemented just on Sunday. So I commend Trump on that, and hopefully if he maintains that position, that war will come to an end finally, and that will just provide the platform on which negotiations that will lead to lasting peace in the Middle East will be established.
All right then, Professor David Awarawo, thank you very much for talking to us on TVC News at 1. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.